Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Monday afternoon, Mid-Michigan. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro here with a First Alert update tracking our forecast for this Thanksgiving week. We certainly have quite a forecast for this entire week. Usually we joke about Michigan weather, how things change from one day to the next, usually pretty significantly. Well, this week is definitely going to be a good example of that because we're tracking everything from sunshine to clouds to rain, even some snow, and we have a large cool down on the way, and we even have some strong winds in the middle of the week on top of all of this too. So definitely quite a bit to track here in the forecast as we go forward here. Let's go ahead and take you to our weather graphics, though, where we can take a look at today. And I do have to say, today actually is expected to be the quietest day of this week relatively. So we expect temps up to about 51, possibly even a few spots near 52 as we go into this afternoon. So the rest of the daytime here is going to be pretty quiet, and if you do have any yard cleanup to do perhaps, or if you just have any other outdoor plans, today is actually still going to be a pretty nice day for that. And I will say too, if you have any holiday lights that you're thinking of putting up soon, today wouldn't be too bad of a day for it. Just looking at some of our longer term data, there is some suggestion that the 50s that we see this afternoon could actually be our last day of any sort of 50s for the remainder of the year. Again, that's something that could possibly still pop up for just one day in December, but really the 50s that we expect today could be our last of the year. So at least for late November standards, where today the normal high would only be about 42 degrees, this is definitely warm for this time of year. But if you consider these temperatures and the quiet and dry conditions, and even though there is some breeze out there, it still isn't very windy for today. So really it would be a decent day. Even if you don't plug in the lights just yet, at least good to just get them up there on the house or on the trees while our weather is still pretty easy going. Because if you do wait until later this week or the upcoming weekend, we're tracking some wind, temps in the 30s, and potentially even some snow showers too. So later this week or even this weekend would be better for putting up the indoor decorations, most certainly. Now let's take a look at the First Alert hour by hour. Remainder of the daytime here, that'll be completely dry. I would expect more cloud coverage to build up here over the course of the next few hours though. So pretty much by the end of our daylight hours or right near dinner time, we are expecting an overcast sky. But notice our conditions are still very dry in the hour by hour. Now as we go into tonight, I wouldn't rule out at least a very stray rain shower up north around Houghton Lake or West Branch or Rose City, but for all intents and purposes, tonight is still going to be pretty quiet and still pretty dry for the large majority of us. So even out the door tomorrow morning, conditions should be pretty quiet. I'll say the one exception for tomorrow, especially during the mid-morning, would be around Fenton, Grand Blanc, Flint, or Gaines, or Metamora, Goodrich, any of those southern areas right at the southern end of our area. You could possibly see just a very light rain shower during the mid-morning, but for most of us, any sort of chance of rain showers will be during the afternoon. That right there on your screen is at about 6 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. We don't expect anything very heavy. Should be somewhat lightly scattered too, but most of these totals just up to 1/10 of an inch. So we aren't tracking anything too significant as we go into tomorrow in regard to the rainfall, but still tomorrow will not be a completely dry day for us. Now as we go into Tuesday night, we are expecting a brief pause in the rainfall, but then we have more rain showers pick up again on Wednesday morning. So this right here is about 7 in the morning on Wednesday. This will be with a cold front moving through, and it is that cold front that comes through Wednesday morning. That's pretty much going to be the turning point for us this week, especially when we see the wind pick up, but also when we see that colder air really rushing into our area. And because of that cold air, that also does welcome some snow showers into our forecast as well. So we'll talk more about what to expect with that cool down and the wind. We'll also talk about the Thanksgiving forecast and what we might be tracking for the upcoming weekend too, all in just a little bit. So we'll talk about that when we come back from this break. Alrighty, welcome back from that break. So we are still tracking a pretty quiet start to this brand new week here, the Thanksgiving week, but we are going to be tracking some large changes to our weather conditions as we go forward towards Thanksgiving and then even for the upcoming weekend as well. So just before the break, we were talking about how today is going to be pretty dry and even relatively warm for this time of year with temps into the low 50s this afternoon. Tomorrow we expect upper 40s with a few scattered rain showers, mainly during the afternoon tomorrow. But then by Wednesday, we have some rain showers in the morning, but then we actually transition over to some lake effect snow showers by Wednesday afternoon. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our weather graphics here again. Cold front coming through Wednesday morning. So with that cold front moving through, again, that's going to be sort of that touching off point for when we see things really starting to change up with these conditions. So the snow showers, or really the rain showers that are still around by the afternoon on Wednesday, those will be turning into snow showers because temperatures will be falling for the entire day on Wednesday. So the temperatures that we wake up with right at the beginning of the day, that'll be our warmest. So it will just be a steady cool down from there. By lunchtime, around noon, we actually should have temperatures down to the upper 30s. And then by the end of the day, Wednesday, those temps should be down to about 32 degrees. And then we'll continue to fall into the upper 20s on Wednesday night. So it will be turning much colder by then. But also just want to make a note of the winds that we're expecting around the midweek period as well. So Wednesday and Thursday, both days will have gusts up to about 35 to 40 miles per hour. Those gusts will be picking up right behind that cold front. So this is going to be a fairly strong front and fairly strong system passing by for this time of year. An important note with those wind gusts too, they'll generally be from the northwest, possibly even directly from the west at times, but generally still more of that northwesterly direction. So if you do have any travel to do on Wednesday for the upcoming holiday, that'll be something to keep in mind, especially if you're going north, for example, on I-75, you'll be driving into that headwind for most of the time, and especially if you're heading west on US 10. If you'll be traveling south, say towards Lansing on I-69, it'll be more of a direct crosswind on the freeway, so also something to bear in mind there too. So really overall, we do expect Wednesday to just be quite a windy day for any sort of travel, but because we have rain in the morning, we just expect some damp roads, and then with temps, even though they cool off through the day, they're still above freezing for the entire daytime. So locally here in mid-Michigan especially, I wouldn't expect any sort of icy roads on Wednesday. Really the big thing there is it is just going to be windy, so something to keep in mind too, maybe if you have a camper that you're pulling, or for any of our truck drivers around the area too, driving around those semis or those higher profile trucks, just something to keep in mind with that. Now, on Thursday itself, on Thanksgiving Day, we do expect some of the lake effect to continue. So I'll show you this here in the First Alert hour by hour, and we'll play this back forward to Wednesday morning. So there's those rain showers on Wednesday morning, that cold front also right behind the rain. You see a little bit of a lull there towards the late morning. So that's the dry slot of the system right before the lake effect picks up. So you see some of those snow showers starting to pick up, and they still continue even as we go into the afternoon and the evening on Wednesday. So this right here is at about 4 in the afternoon on Wednesday, and that lake effect will just continue on as we go towards dinner time and really towards the end of the day. So I do want to point that out here in the First Alert hour by hour, that any of these snow showers that are coming through here, they will be originating from the west side of the state, but as they do so from the west side of the state, that is where some areas here, like Houghton Lake or Clare or Mount Pleasant, could pick up some of that lake effect just given your proximity to that side of the state. So as you go east through mid-Michigan, that snow shower chance on Wednesday does happen to lower just a little bit more. But even as we go over into Wednesday night, the lake effect still continues, and then here we are going into Thursday morning. Now by Thursday morning, even though those snow showers have tapered off even a bit more, for Thanksgiving, if you're waking up in some areas up north like Houghton Lake or Whittemore, I'd say even around Harrison too, you will likely still be waking up to some snow showers moving through your area. And just to show you some snow totals for around that time too, and this is definitely something to still just take a little more loosely right now, but notice how the snow predictor is picking up on those accumulations, especially on the west side of our area and up towards Houghton Lake. It's indicating almost 4 inches by Thursday morning in Houghton Lake. Of course, that number is going to be highly variable because of the lake effect nature of these snow showers, but I think our key takeaway here is that for any of our travelers here who are heading up towards Houghton Lake or just in that direction of the Lower Peninsula, you are likely going to encounter some snow accumulations by Thursday morning. If your travel is on Thanksgiving Day itself, some of those roads up north in the morning could be a little bit slick. But for the remainder of mid-Michigan, any of these snow showers on Thanksgiving Day are really just going to result in about a dusting at the very most. So outside of those far northern spots, just the usual lake effect spots, this still doesn't look to be anything too significant snowfall-wise on Thanksgiving Day itself. But as we go towards the weekend, and you've probably already heard some talk online about this too, we could possibly see some snow moving in during the weekend. That would be decent system snow, in fact, that could end up being area-wide for us as well. Now, I will say with anything that you've seen online so far, just a disclaimer, it is still far too early to lock in any of the details specifically for that forecast, especially in regard to any sort of snow totals that you might be seeing for the upcoming weekend as well. This storm system hasn't even formed yet. It's not going to be until about Thursday or Friday that we should see this forming in the Great Plains as that energy moves off of the Rockies. And then once that system forms on Friday and we'll be able to have a better idea of where exactly it's forming, then we can iron out that storm track a little bit more. So right now, this really does come down to whether or not we even see that storm system forming where we expect it to form in the plains. But once it does, then it'll be down to the storm track for what we're tracking by the weekend. But I will say, if the storm does happen to end up forming as we expect on Friday in the plains, and then we see high pressure that's near us starting to fade away pretty quickly too, then we could see that storm track turning far enough north, and that is where that possibility, at least, for some accumulating snow comes in during the weekend. And one thing I will say here too, and this is very important to note, that for this weekend, we will be staying cold. Whether or not we even end up seeing the storm system and the snowfall, it is going to be a cold weekend with temperatures into the 30s during the afternoon, easily down into the 20s at night, and any sort of breeze will take morning wind chills for both Saturday and Sunday down into the teens. So it is still expected to be on the colder side as we go into the weekend, regardless of that snowfall forecast. So let's go ahead here and take a look at just a comparison with our models. So we look at several different forecast models several times during the day. Some of these models, like here on your screen, the GFS and the European model, these update 4 times a day. So even the latest update that we have between these two does show the GFS model on the drier side, at least a little bit of snow there off to our west over Lake Michigan and in Wisconsin. But with the Euro model, and this has definitely been the most favorable for snowfall. If you like snow, the Euro is definitely the one that you'll like to be looking at right now. But the Euro model does show more of a widespread snow that should pick up late in the day on Saturday. The time frame here on your screen is at about 10 in the evening on Saturday. So that would be more of an evening or even late afternoon pickup, and then more of that snow would carry into Saturday night and Sunday. But again, that's just the Euro model, especially, that's been a bit more favorable for the heavy snowfall. We can actually play this out here, the model as a whole. So I'll go ahead and fast forward the hour by hour up to the end of the week. So there's that lake effect pattern for Thursday and even into Friday, just a few lake effect flurries. But notice how Friday night conditions are pretty quiet. And then you see this here, that system starting to build up off to our west. And that's the system that we are monitoring potentially, again, keyword potentially, for the upcoming weekend. But notice how the Euro is bringing that snow in pretty much directly by the end of the day Saturday, and then even as we go into Sunday morning, some of that snow could still be around our area. But then I'll move us over to the GFS model, which this can pretty much be referred to as the American model. Notice this here, Saturday afternoon, this is about 5 in the afternoon, It is still looking pretty dry for us here. It's not exactly picking up on that storm system in the same way that the Euro is, but even as we go into the middle of Saturday night, this is about 2 in the morning on Sunday. Notice that the snow was still all off to our west. And then as we go into Sunday, this is actually suggesting even a mix of rain and snow. So what's happening here is that the GFS model, or the American model, is actually favoring more of a northern storm track. And because of the northern storm track compared to the Euro, that allows more warm air to come up from the south, and that's what introduces the rain into that particular forecast solution. So again, there are a lot of different solutions that we've seen for the weekend so far. Granted that a couple of the models are at least pointing towards some snow this weekend. We just want to make you aware of the fact that this is definitely something that can't be ruled out as of right now. We'll have an even better idea of this though with our model data that comes in on Wednesday, and then of course by the end of this week, Thursday and Friday, we'll even start to get some high resolution data by then, and that'll really help us to whittle down that weekend forecast too. But I think our key takeaway with that weekend forecast right now is that it is still just far too early to lock in any specific details with that, other than the fact that there is just a chance that we could see some accumulating snowfall, but that is definitely far from a home run as of right now. But it is something that we do want to first alert you to and make you aware of that. And as we go throughout the week here, we will continue to whittle down that forecast, and we will bring you more updates on that as we go throughout the week. Just show you that 7-day forecast too. I just want you to know that it is again going to be cold as we go towards Thanksgiving. So we'll take a look at the 7-day here. You can see Thanksgiving Day on Thursday, 35 for the high, and we'll still have those strong wind gusts up to about 35 to 40 miles per hour. So it is going to be a cold day, starting off in the upper 20s in the morning. We're back to the mid 20s by Thursday night. So if you have any sort of traveling to do or any points during the day there that you might be outside on Thanksgiving, it is just going to be cold and windy and brisk. So make sure that you are bundling up by then. And you can see kind of what I was mentioning earlier in the live stream, pretty much right towards the beginning, that 51 that we have for today could very well be our last day of 50s for the remainder of this year. We still have about 5 weeks left of the year, but certainly days like today with temps in the 50s and with the sunshine, they don't come very often at this time of year anymore. So if you have anything to do outdoors today, still some leaf cleanup, or again hanging up those holiday lights, today would actually be a pretty good day for it. Well, we'll keep you updated as we go through the week, and Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick will be here on air with more forecast updates at 4 o'clock today, and also for our entire evening slate of newscasts, 5, 5:30, and 6 o'clock, and he'll have another live stream for you right here too, coming up at 9 o'clock this evening. Until then, have a great afternoon and enjoy the sunshine that we still have out there right now.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.